Welcome to the Empowered Women Life Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Karen Bashford. This podcast is for every woman who has ever felt limited by her past, silenced by trauma, or held back by society's expectations. Each week, we will share powerful stories, expert insights, and practical tools to help you become the leader of your own life.
And I have the pleasure of introducing you to Mags O'Brien. She is an aligned soul coach, a quantum human design facilitator. Human design fascinates me, by the way. So I'm hoping that what Mags is going to be talking about incorporates something about human design, because we can all learn about ourselves. So Mags, welcome, and please introduce yourself and share something about who you are and what you do.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Karen. And, thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate this. So my passion and my why is when you're in alignment, then life works. It doesn't mean to say that you don't get stuff happen. It just means that you can deal with it in a more resilient and grounded way. And how do I know that? That's been my journey. So long story short, when I was 29, I called it a breakdown at that time because burnout wasn't a thing, but really it was a massive burnout. In human design, I'm a 1/4 projector, and a projector doesn't have life force, workforce energy. She has boom and bust energy. So we do great stuff, and then we have to rest. So this little projector unknowingly was doing 60-hour weeks, trying to prove her worth. And not only was she trying to prove her worth, she was getting pushback. And basically some of her bosses were really making her life difficult in her view. So there was clash there as well. And I'd cry because I was doing my best. I was doing my best for the company, doing the best for my people because I manage people. One day I was walking through the office and I stopped, and this voice inside of me said, I heard it. It said, I can't do this anymore. And I went down in tears to the occupational health, and basically they said, go home. Went to the doctors, got signed off for a month, and wouldn't take antidepressants because it wasn't a thing for me. And I still didn't realise that actually I was in a very bad state. The nurse at the occupational health at the company that I worked for was lovely, and she kept trying to tell me, but I wasn't hearing her. So I did keep on basically, and it took me 5 years to actually recover some of the damage that I'd done to myself. So what happened there then was I went back to work and I had a bit of a FU attitude. It's like, I'm not going to do all this work. I'm just going to do what I need to do and go home. And I got better grades for that, funnily enough. But in the meantime, I became a therapist. So I did massage, Reiki, Indian head massage, all that sort of stuff, craniosacral therapy, which really helped me look at the issue in the tissue, got me into past lives, into the emotion we hold in our body. So that was releasing all that. I did go into business back in, I think it was 2008. 2008. Because I got kicked out with the last financial crash. So I had my own business as a therapist and things like that. So then things were better. I was a lot better mentally and emotionally, but I still had this boom and bust energy. And it was like, why? And having the boom and bust energy meant that I had boom and bust money. And I was on this coaching program in 2014, and it was like, yeah, do this, do this, do this. And I could see myself doing it all, except I'd do it, crash, do it, crash. And I could see all these other people doing it and having success. And it's like, what's wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
you know, so my self-worth was in the toilet again. It's like, why can't I do this? Because I'm so passionate. I've got all these ideas. It's like, why can't I make it work? Then I did Louise Hay stuff, you know, looking at self-talk, the inner child, holistic coaching, again, looking at ego integration and those parts of us that tell us we're rubbish, and working with those. And then I found soul realignment, which again was moving me more into alignment, because it was like, yeah, the more I'm in alignment, the better it'll be. And that really did help, but I still had this boom and bust energy, and it was so annoying. So I wagged my finger to them upstairs and said, okay, I've had enough of this. What do I need to do? So I got back, you need to do human design. So I got on Mr. Google, looked up human design, and it's like, this is not vibing for me. One step back was that a friend of mine did me a human design reading 6 months prior in the summer, and we did a swap. I did an astrology solar return reading, and she did me human design. And that's when I first heard the word projector, and it was like, that makes sense. So she said I was a projector, then she said other stuff and giving me information, and it was good. But as you do, it goes to one side. So 6 months later, my energy's still like really low, and it's like, I've had enough. So I looked up human design. It wasn't vibing. So I asked a friend of mine, like, where did you do your human design? Because I was a guinea pig for her and I liked what she did. And she says, oh, quantum human design. So when I learned that, I'll tell you about that in a minute. When I learned that, that vibed, and I started to work with Dr. Karen Parker, which is amazing. So the difference, so human design, traditional human design is great and valid, and quantum human design takes you further on. So in your process, you've got your conditioned self. So let's think about as a business owner, as a woman, you know, conditioned self could be that you have to look after everybody first, and your business, your needs and everything come last. It could be as a business owner, you're only going to be successful if you pull all-nighters, do, you know, 14-hour days, 7 days a week, and all those sort of things. So that conditioning means that we're out of alignment. So misalignment, to me, gives you burnout, no matter what type you are. Okay, so what human design does takes you to a baseline. And this baseline is being in alignment with your type, with your strategy, and with your authority. And so for me, as a projector, so my type doesn't have life force, workforce energy. So I know I need to sort my lifestyle out so that I can go, yay, and then rest, yay, and then rest. So that I'm not trying to go like a generator type that does have life force, workforce energy. I'm not trying to keep up with them. Okay, so generally 70% of the population have this life force, workforce energy. So if you guys have done your chart, if you're curious, it's if you're a generator or a manifesting generator. That means you've got a defined sacral, and that means you've got life force, workforce energy. If you do your chart and you're a projector, reflector, or manifester, and that square is white, it's the second one up from the bottom, then it means you don't have the life force, workforce energy. So the same as me, you work in bursts and then you need to rest. So when we undo that conditioning that says this is how you run your business, this is what women need to do, and this is how you are as a woman running your business. When we start to decondition that and get to the baseline, then things run more smoothly. We know how to make decisions. So that is your authority. Strategy, there's only only the manifestors, so they're like 9% of the population generally, they're the ones that can get this download and go off and do stuff. So download inspiration, can go and do stuff. The rest of us have to wait. The rest of us have to wait. And what are we conditioned to do? Go, 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 go. You get an idea and it's like, you've got to go, you've got to push it. And again, that burns us all out, no matter what type we are. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, because I'm actually a generator. And
Ah,
I do know that if I try and do something before I've been given the insight of to what it is to be or how to progress, I just get stuck. I literally become on a treadmill of trying to do things, but nothing happens.
yes.
So that makes total sense to me.
Yeah. And what I'm
Yeah.
giving here is real like headline stuff,
Yeah.
even of the types. When we get deeper into the chart, there's lots of nuances. It's a bit like astrology, you know, it's like, oh, well, I'm a Taurian. But being a Taurian, when you look at it in the context of the rest of the chart, you know, not every Taurian is the same. And it's the same with the types. You can have this overall with the type, but then there's all the other nuances. So those take you to what's called a baseline. And what that baseline does mean, it means that you're more in alignment. There is stuff out on the internet where I think Ra said that you needed to do your type strategy and authority for 7 years and then it'd be all fine. I think the energies have changed since he said that. And it doesn't need to be that long. But also this all requires doing inner work. If you don't do the inner work, it's not gonna happen.
No, I can appreciate that as well. And I did actually a numerology reading, and interestingly enough, what came up, because obviously we're all different, even the time we're born under, the positioning of the planets and everything will make a difference to each of us. And I was pleased to discover that I was aligned with being a teacher, an educator, and a speaker and such like. Being a Gemini, that would make sense as well, because I'm a communicator. But it was interesting to discover that part of my journey was that I would not basically step out until I was in my 50s.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I actually started stepping out when I was in my 50s.
Yes.
So we're all so totally different. So even if you have the baseline and obviously the beginnings, you still need to go deeper and you still need to do the inner work, because your inner work still holds the past until you've actually cleared the past, or at least understood it to know why you're behaving as you are. So tell us a bit about how you work then.
So what I do is, so to get people to baseline, so a lot of people do what's called a human design reading, and they'll get your chart and it's like, you know, okay, Karen, you're a generator. And a generator is 35% of the population, and it means this and it means that, and this is how you make decisions, and this is your profile, and you know, it can give you a lot of nice information, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. However, I'm a strategist, and I also, what drives me is alignment. So I want to help others get into alignment. It's how I'm wired. And I want to help people change the story that they're telling themselves that's not working to be an aligned story for what is working. So what I do differently is I'll do, when somebody makes an appointment, they get a getting to know you form. So basically it's like, what are you struggling with? How much do you want to solve this? What would it mean to you if I could wave a magic wand? Those sort of questions. And what that does, it gets the person, gets the creative juices going, or they begin to start to answer those questions for themselves. Then when they come on a complimentary consultation, it's like, okay, let's look at what you're struggling with. And then if they want a reading, a quantum human design strategy reading, what I do there then is, it's like, okay, this is what you're struggling with. This is what you told me you're struggling with. And this is where we see it in the chart. Now, not everything's in the chart. So we have lived experiences, we have family conditioning, we have societal conditioning, we have ancestral conditioning that comes down the timelines. However, my experience of doing readings, how we respond to that can be seen in the chart, even if we're conditioned. Some people, so say for example, if a projector was born of manifesting generator parents, so this projector might act like a manifesting generator until they crash and burn, because they will, unless they find out earlier. Some of their responses and the way they would react to that situation, I'd see that in the conditioned element of their chart. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, I've been able to see it in the chart, and then it's like, okay, what we need to do is get you to baseline. And so it's like, okay, so you're a generator, but I know this is not you, but let's say, so Karen, you know, you've been starting things and quitting things, starting things and quitting things, starting things and quitting things, and that's burning you out. But when you understand how you learn, so a stair-step learning, so it's like, woohoo, great, I've learned this. And then you plateau and it's like, nothing's happening, nothing's working, nothing's changing, you're laughing, you know. And then you get frustrated, it's like, and then you quit. And then you go and find something else. But when you understand that you have this fast learning, the plateau is integration. Like, I've learned this, I'm going to integrate. And then the frustration is momentum. It's like the next bit's ready to go. So there's a way, there's what I call a superpower way of generators checking in with themselves and their body with yes, no questions. And when you're good at it, it's like, okay, is this frustration momentum? Do I need to quit it? It's like, damn. You know, do I need to sit through it? Oh, okay. But it helps you keep moving forward. Okay. So it's giving strategies like that. So say, for example, a lot of people have an open route. So it's the white square at the bottom of the chart, if you've run your chart, and that's about divine timing. And a lot of people with that open, it's like, when I've done all this work, I'll rest. But the thing is, as you know already, it
Yeah.
never stops. You get something off the front of the list and something else goes on the bottom. And so the strategy there is, what I say to my clients is like, what's the one thing that needs to happen? Unless you're a manifesting generator, you might want 2 or 3 because you multitask. But it's like, what's the one thing that will move the needle of your life and business that you need to do? And not a massive thing. It's not like, I'm going to clean, if we use an analogy of the house, right? I'm going to clean the house from top to bottom. No, the thing that will move the needle the most and make me feel the best is if I tackle the lounge, because that's where I relax and chill, and then I'll do the others later. So rather than going, right, I need to do the whole house, because that's like doing the Forth Road Bridge, just going round and round and round and round. So we put strategies in place for areas where you'll basically be leaking energy and have potential for burnout. So then when we stop you doing things that are not in alignment, and then the things you need to do in alignment, then that can really help move the needle. And then what I look at is, okay, so any new decisions you make, we look at in your chart how you make decisions. Okay, so it could be the sacral yes, no. It could be some people, you know, 50% of the population are meant to be spontaneous and 50% not for the big things. You know, it's like, oh, spontaneous, let's go out for a coffee. But, you know, for the bigger things. And the spontaneous people go, come on, make a decision. And it's like, ugh. And, you know, so it's understanding that people are different. So anyway, you know how you know how to make decisions for things going forward. And then we look at your life, and when things are like, well, this is not working how I want, it's like, okay, what needs to happen to change that? What action do you need to take that's in alignment? If you're a generator type, it's like, do I need to keep on doing this? Because like I say, being in alignment doesn't mean to say that we don't have challenges. Challenges can be good things, like, you know, it can be challenging to come on a podcast. It's like, ooh, I'm all right talking, to be honest, but for some people that would be a challenge and scary. But is it the right thing? Okay. So there's the challenges in that way, but then there's also the soul challenges as we learn and grow. And as you said, Karen, like you learned that this part of yourself would blossom and grow as you matured later in your life.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have these ideas, these inspirations, and we grow into them. But if we go, oh, I've got this idea, and we push, we burn out. Or we scare ourselves so much because it feels so big. I've been told by a lot of mediums, and I get that myself, that I'm going to be speaking to large audiences. Right? Part of my stomach goes, oop. And so I'd be going, well, where is this opportunity and whatever. So I said to Spirit, I said, okay. I said, I'm working one-to-one now. So if I help facilitate to change 50 people's lives a year, that's a big tick. However, if you want me to speak to bigger audiences, give me the opportunity. And I put it up there. So now I'm getting speaking opportunities and things like that. So it's great being here. It was great doing the summit. And, you know, it's not thousands, but it's not that I don't care, but it's like I'm taking it each step at a time because I know I've got to grow into it. So when we get these inspirations, it's like giving you forewarning of something that you grow into. And some, you know, and what I talk about is my experience of a massive burnout as a woman, as somebody trying to prove a worth when I didn't need to, but I didn't know that. That was stuff I brought in to heal. As a business owner, you know, why is my business going up and down? What's wrong with me? Type thing. So this is all from my personal experience, but without that personal experience, I couldn't be speaking from the heart like I am now.
That makes total sense. And I know when you're talking about that integration and frustration, I find that as I'm going through that integration, I then start realizing there's some healing going on at the same time. At the moment, I've spent a year basically doing my sloth or beaver toolkit. And it's like, I've come to the end of that, and it's all of a sudden like, well, you've learned from that, you've gained from that, but now you've got to integrate what you've written, because literally it's 700 questions that I've written down. And it's like, every time I wrote a question down, it was like, but you haven't dealt with this, or you've just touched the surface of this. And then now know that for me, this is the most frustrating time, because I'm actually integrating, as you said, what I've actually written into my own life. So I am literally going through basically a mini breakdown, because my body has gone, fine, you stop concentrating on that for a minute, I can breathe, and now let's work on you. But I also know that as I'm working on me, I'm getting new ideas coming in. Yeah. And I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, I want to do them. But I also know that until I've gone through this integration stage and actually working on healing myself, nothing is going to happen. So no matter how much I try to do something else, it's just not going to happen. Yeah. So it makes total and absolute sense.
It's kind of surrendering to the soul is what I and the soul journey, rather than like the conditioned expectations. So when I work with people, so I have the tagline, so it's how do we restore your energy, put some strategies in place there, and it involves doing less, not more, because we usually do too much, and then realign. So it's like, okay, how do we realign you with your type strategy profiles? And, for some things, how do we move you to the quantum, the higher expression, to get you excited, to pull you forward? And then rebalance. So again, it's looking at your lifestyle, your choices, and rebalancing your life in alignment. And then it's a process that can keep going. So you're actually empowered to keep, when the next thing comes up, it's like, okay. So when we get issues, it's usually something that's out of alignment. And it doesn't mean to say you're doing anything wrong. It could be like, this is the time we agreed with our soul that this would come up because we've done these other things. So now this can be healed. So what Spirit showed me was, some people go, oh, you might have this, Karen. They go, I thought I dealt with that. So what Spirit showed me was, so if you imagine there's a hook, so that's the issue. And then we come across it and it's like, oh, we heal what we can at the time and from our experience and what we can do. So we move it forward in time and maybe we don't heal it fully. So it sits there. Okay, so from a soul realignment point of view, that's like a block and restriction. So then we trot along further in our life. We've done some more healing, some more understanding. And then this thing comes up again. I thought I'd dealt with that. And we recognize it. Maybe it's not as bad, but it's like, we dive on it and go, Argh. So anyway, you go back and hook into it and then you heal it again to the level where you can, and you may heal it completely, or it might be another cycle. And so that's what they showed me, and that makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Well, that makes sense to me because I'm very conscious of the fact that I can heal an aspect of my life, say a relationship, but then I discovered that that same problem is in a relationship with money.
Yes.
Or it's in a relationship with the people that I'm starting to build relationships with, rather than the ones that I've had previously. So that makes total sense because healing isn't linear. Far from it. It's very much, you're up and down. And because there's different aspects that are impacted by certain things that happen in your life, it's bound to come back again. You're never going to reach that stage where you've healed everything. So it's...
Well, because we've got Chiron, the wounded healer, so we'll heal that as far as we can in this lifetime. And then we'll take it along to the next lifetime. Unless, obviously, it was the thing that we said we would heal. But generally, Chiron is the wounded healer. But yeah.
Well, that's why we have problems coming from generational and such like, because we are actually just carrying through the family history that hasn't yet been healed, and that's what we choose to do perhaps in this lifetime. So it makes total sense. So what would you sorry, excuse me, what would you say to somebody who is feeling, but I've done the work but it's just not working?
What do you mean done the work?
So say they've been to, like, I generally work with people that have been in counselling, that have been to therapists and such like, and consequently they say, well, I've done all of this, but I'm still having issues. What would you say to them?
So with counselling, pure counselling, I think the energy's changed around that. So, and again, Spirit showed me this. So some counselling is right. There's this situation here, and it's a pile of poop. They gave me the more earthly word, but and when you go to counselling, you get a stick and you stir it. That's really vile. But what you're doing is you're going back into that energy and trying to resolve it from that painful place. And it was valid, but I think the energy's changed, and it's still valid for some people. So I'm not dissing it in any way, shape, or form. It's right for some people. But in these energies, what I was shown was, it's like, okay, we're here and now. There's this pile of poop here, and we recognize that it's a pile of poop. How is it affecting your life now? And what do we need to do now to unhook from that pile of poop, to let that just be where it is. We don't need to go back in that energy, because in my experience and my view, we can't heal it in that
energy. No.
Yeah. So so maybe they've outgrown that method, because counselling might have been brilliant for them, got them so far, and now it's not working. It could be, because I do the ego integration stuff, it could be that there's a sneaky part of them that goes, I don't want to heal, and I'm going to hide, and I'm going to pretend that I'm not here, but I'm still going to sabotage your life.
Yeah.
You know, and blindside you. So there could be that. You know, I've done loads of inner work, and I still do the holistic coaching. I have it, and sometimes I'm like, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's always good to work with someone else, and we get drawn to people who can help us heal. And if what I've also seen is that if a part of us is really sabotaging, they'll take us to someone who can kind of look like it's doing it, but it's not. And it's nothing to do with the therapist. It's to do with the ego part that's going, I'm not ready to be healed yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have to remember that, don't we? There's a time for healing, rather than just assuming that, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be healed. There's always a time for healing.
Well, yeah, and that ego part needs to feel safe and heard in order to come out and let us know what's going on, and to negotiate a new story, you know, rather than going, you're bad, you shouldn't be doing this. It's like, no, I hear you. I hear you hurt. I hear that you're trying to help me. I hear you're trying to keep me safe. But do you know what? Things are different now. Let's talk.
Very, very true. So on that note, I would thank you, Mags, for sharing a very, very insightful aspect of healing, because this is about healing yourself. So yeah, it's been a fascinating listen. So thank you so much. Obviously, I will share your links so people can contact you or download your free quantum human design chart, so they at least start to appreciate quite what's going on. But personally, I would recommend anyone to go and get their human design, especially quantum human design, because the difference it makes in you understanding where you are and what's really going on really does help make life so much easier. So definitely. So thank you, Mags, for that. I appreciate your time and for your sharing. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. It's amazing.
It's a pleasure.